No worries. I'm sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So we left off with Abraham's servant going and getting Rebecca to meet her and get her as the wife of Isaac. He brought her back. They were married. Then Abraham remarried. He had a new wife and he has a whole bunch of new children. However, we did end and talk about how he gave everything, like all of his legitimate property and goods, to Isaac, and then sent his other sons eastward. So sent them and they became, let's see. Oh, no, not yet. I scrolled down. Sorry, I'm online looking at the Bible because I left my Bible upstairs and I didn't want to go up there and make Joel cry again. He died in the presence of his brethren. All right. So Ishmael, the son of Abraham's servant, Sarah's servant, let's call her Sarah's servant because that makes better sense. Sarah's handmaid bare unto Abraham the son Ishmael. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to the generations. What? The centipede was right there. This is going to be distracting. Firstborn of Ishmael, Naboth and Kedar and Abiel and Mibzam and Mishma and Duma and Massa, Hadar, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns, their castles, 12 princes according to their nations. And these are the years of life of Ishmael, 137 years until he gave up the ghost and died and was gathered unto his people. So they all gathered, they dwelt unto Shur, that is before Egypt. So I'm assuming it's in that same area as Egypt. And now goes toward Assyria, and he died in the presence of all his brethren. So going back to Abraham, so I guess all that's going on at the same time as Abraham, Isaac and Abraham growing, or y'all bear with me, I'm sorry. Isaac, Abraham's son, as he is growing and getting older. Isaac was 40 when he took Rebecca to wife. And she was not to have children. Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and his wife conceived. So while she is pregnant, she feels the baby rumbling around, and she even asks of the Lord, why is this so horrible? And he says unto her, the 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, there were twins in her womb. The first came out all red and all over like a hairy garment, and they called him Esau. And hey, am I pronouncing that wrong? Because I think KJ all corrected me last time. Esau, maybe? Esau? Logan's like, it doesn't matter, but I don't want to be Esau. After that, his brother came out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. Every time I hear this story, I think of this little red hairy baby. Do y'all think of this little red hairy baby? Joel has the hairiest back I've ever seen on a baby. And I'm always like, red hairy baby, except it's not red, but still, I'm always thinking red hairy baby. So Esau was the hunter, and Jacob was the plain man dwelling in the tents. So to me, that always means that he's the plain man dwelling in the tents. He is more like the homebody type. He's the one taking care of the things in the home. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, or is that what you all always think too when you read the story, is that he's the one that stays around the house. Esau is the one that's like outside, the rugged one, the hunter, the all that, where Jacob is more of the homebody. Is that what y'all get from it?
I do. I think you're absolutely right about that, Becky. You might be interested to know that in obstetrics, there's a syndrome that's called fetal transfusion syndrome, where when twins, you get a twin-to-twin transfusion, and one comes out with a lot more blood than it's supposed to have, and they tend to be very red, big, more mature, more strong, and the other ones come out pale, weak, and weakly. The other one does. Yeah, and so I think this is an example of twin-to-twin transfusion in the womb, and a terrific description of it. It's just amazing, the description of it. Yeah,
I didn't know that was actually a thing. That's kind of super interesting that that's actually a thing too.
Would that mean the smaller one was maybe more weak?
Like more sickly?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that kind of makes sense then why he would stay at home, because his mother wouldn't want him going out being sickly. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it also says that Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebecca loved Jacob. So that makes more sense, because that would have been her baby, the one she mothered more and cared for more, where, Esau was dead boy, out there hunting and being the man's man. So that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. I didn't know that was a thing.
Because as a mom, like, my baby is my baby, and I keep her close, especially right now because she doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Where like when Haley's sick, she goes off and takes care of herself.
Yeah. Well, me too. And like when your baby, you know what I mean? Like you're comforting them more, and you're not gonna let her out like feeling sick, and you're gonna be like, oh baby, stay here with mom. So, and especially with her not being able to have kids and her being blessed with 2, she's gonna be even more protective. You know what I mean? That's what I would think.
That's a real good point. Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Definitely.
I thought it was interesting too, that the difference between how Abraham and Sarah tried to solve the sterility problem, the barrenness problem, and how Isaac and Rebecca solved the barrenness problem. They prayed about it.
Yeah.
Abraham went to bed with the maid. Yeah, and they got 2. Right.
Yeah, they got 2 babies out of it, not just 1. I think it's still interesting though how with Abraham's, he did get those 2 children, and they were sent, separated. They were sent apart, one to Egypt, one stayed home. And then with this one, again, we've got 2 warring nations. You know what I mean? We've got 2 separate. That's really interesting too.
That is
that it's coming out of this bloodline. I mean, but I guess that's how it has to happen for all the nations to, break apart and be created. Interesting. Okay, so and Jacob sod pottage. I don't know what that means. What's sod pottage mean? I've been saying it's beans. I was like, I always thought he was making soup or something, but I guess it's
a stew, I guess, of some sort.
Meaty stew. All right. So and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. So he was hungry. He was hangry. Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore his name was called Edom. I don't know why they say that. Why do they say that, Dad? You know why? Because I don't know why they say that.
Edom means red in Hebrew. And I think he was called Red because, I think it was kind of like a nickname. He was called Red,
Yeah.
He was born red. He's acted red all of his life. And he's, now he wants to eat the red stew, and he ate the red stew, I mean, he kind of, it's a nickname, I think. It's like if we had somebody nicknamed Red.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jacob said, he said, feed me. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. And what profit shall this birthright be to me? And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So to me, that was like arrogance. Like, I don't know. I'm starving. I'm going to die. Feed me now. You know, he didn't really take it seriously. It was almost like, to me, it means, you know, he just was so completely dramatic about it. You know what I mean? Because he's been spoiled.
But Esau
Yeah.
was in the middle of a desert. Who knows how long.
So you think maybe he was
Esau
dying?
was actually pretty all battle. Because
So,
it's not like you have the modern day, like he wasn't out there shooting deer 5 yards away. He was out there following a deer for miles. Just
I mean, that would
following
make
it
more
in the
sense.
desert, and they're in the desert, so they're just following it
Can you guys hear Logan?
until it stops running. That's how they hunt it.
So Logan,
No, I think he should be required to speak into the
I
microphone.
know he kills me with that.
I think he
Logan
should, yeah.
said that he sees it in a different way. He says, you know, now when we hunt, you know, we're shooting a deer and it's 500 yards away. Esau was literally probably on the point of dying. You know, so maybe Jacob really did take like horrible advantage because he's in the desert. He's literally in the desert tracking deer and meat for days. So, you know, he's like, he probably was about to die. And that's why he's like, you know, I'll trade it because I'm gonna die. So,
If you look at how sneaky
and how
underhanded
sneaky,
Jacob was anyway.
Interesting.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Very interesting.
Yeah, Logan said, you know, just looking too at how sneaky and underhanded that Jacob was, that, you know, it makes more sense that he would be like, well, I'll give you some food, but first, you know, because he was being really sneaky and saw an advantage that he could take. So, I mean, that makes sense. That makes better sense than Esau being like arrogant. I mean,
Yeah,
did we-
I always thought of it as like, I was always taught it as, you know, Esau just kind of breezed in and was like, hey, I'm, you know,
and it's food.
yeah,
yeah.
I'm like, feed me and I'm so great. And Jacob was like, hey. So
That's
that's a
how
pretty
I
good,
always-
that's a neat take on it.
Yeah. I always thought of it the same way, that he was like arrogant and, you know, was just give me my food. You know, I'm dad's favorite. Give me my food. You know what I mean? Like I always thought like maybe he didn't take it seriously, you know, because of the arrogance. Dad, how did you always like think of it when you thought of that story?
The same way you do. That's the way I just think that's a very different and interesting take on it from Logan. I really like that.
I do too, because it kind of makes, I mean, like a better sense on it. I don't know, it makes Esau sound like more of a decent guy, that's for sure.
It does, and it makes sense because of the tricksterism of Jacob. I mean, it really makes it harder to say Jacob deserved the birthright eventually. You know,
Yeah.
it makes it harder to say that rather than he took advantage of his brother and took it.
Yeah.
That's real interesting take on that. I really like that.
I do too, because, you know, coming up in the story, like where he, you know, covers himself with hair and he, you know what I mean? He really plays it, that it does make him seem more sneaky and underhanded, that he would take advantage of his brother when he's dying. Like, I'm dying, I'm literally going to die, whatever, you know.
There's another thing that I think's interesting. Is that
Speak up, Luke. Well, come here.
Yes, please. We'd like to hear what we say there.
Sir Logan of the water heater.
Yeah.
He's got
so?
notes. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so what? Did you find it? Okay.
So
He didn't. We'll punch it. All right. So Esau loses his birthright, and there was a famine in the land beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar, and the Lord appeared unto him and said, go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries. And I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all the countries, and in thy seed shall the nations of the earth be blessed. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my status, and my laws, so Isaac dwelt in Gerar. Wait, did this go backwards on me? Or are we, hold on. Isaac said the land. Nope, we didn't. It was doing that repeat thing like Dad said, and I'm online, and so I was afraid like the page like whoosh on me or something. So it talks about, oh my goodness. Okay, so the men of the place asked him of his wife, and she is my sister, for he feared to say, she is my wife, lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebecca, because she was fair to look upon. Dude, what is with these men? And like, that's not my wife, that's my sister. So weird. And it came to pass when he had been there a long time that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out the window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah, his wife. So I'm going to assume that was a little bit of snog action going on there. And Abimelech called Isaac and said, behold, of a surety she is thy wife. And how saidst thou, she is my sister? And Isaac said unto him, because I said, lest I die for her. So the king is saying, what have you done to us? One of the people might have lined with your wife, and thou should have brought guiltness upon us. And so Abimelech charged all his people, saying, he that touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. So, you know, they've got the sight of God again, and smooth sailing on through, which, I mean, they could have told the truth originally, but I guess that's just not the way that it
What if
goes.
they would have killed him?
You think they would have killed him?
Well, if
Or
you
his wife?
If you go on later, not really for his wife, but just because they're strangers. Because if you go on later, then it shows, then it talks about them coming to Isaac, like friends. I mean, they have to make a deal because they don't want Isaac to hurt them. It just seems like they argue.
Okay, they're not friends. Okay.
I don't know if it's the same.
Maybe Logan can shed some light on this, or you can shed some light on this, but I get like really frustrated with the Bible, like because of the way that women are treated.
Yeah.
And like women are just like constantly their property. And like, yet these guys continue to be blessed and blessed and blessed and blessed and blessed, and they're chosen and they're this and they're that. And the women are just like, I mean, I don't understand that. Like, I mean, is there a reason for that, or do you have a perspective on that kind of
My perspective is because we're still in the time of Eve and stuff, and everybody blames it on the women. Like they're not, because I mean, God, even like when Eve sinned, he even says that she'll suffer unto her husband. Like she'll crave to be the same as him, you know, and she won't be, but she'll crave it and she'll want to be there, but she never will be. And to me, I think it's just because we're more still in that time. I mean, because geez, just like 100 years ago, we gained right to vote. You know what I mean? It's not even been that long. I don't know if it's I mean, it's probably longer than that now, but you know what I mean? It's just just because we're property, you know, women were property. They weren't considered anything.
I don't think.
You don't
Because
think
if you
so?
see, I mean, like people had like Abraham and them, they were all, and even recently up into history, like it was more about the men, and women just weren't seen as much, you know, because they were taking care of the house and all that, and then were out in the public. But it was still part of it's what Mom said, where it's like, you know, women were subservient to the husband, but that was never God's plan. You know, well, it was God's plan that women are subservient, but God didn't want them treated less. see that after Jesus comes and sets things straight in the New Testament, you know?
Yeah.
But the problem,
Well, I mean, and like in the Old Testament, there's the stories, I don't remember, but Ruth is in and Esther and stuff, they're in the Old Testament, right?
Old. Mhm.
Yeah. So like, I mean, there are stories of strong women, but it's just funny how, it's like,
Yeah. Well,
wow.
it makes you kind of feel like, well, why doesn't God love us? I get that. I totally do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
It's not, it doesn't make me feel like that, but it makes me be like, why do these guys keep continuing to be blessed and blessed and blessed because I kind of view the being treated like that as kind of like not a wicked thing, but an irresponsible thing,
Yeah.
the
I don't
issue
know.
is that God didn't
But-
God didn't want women to be treated like that by men, but it was still, you have to remember too, like all of this is before God put the law into place. So
yeah.
there wasn't really anything set up, and that's what the process that God's doing right now is. He's trying to get everything set up in order, because it says in the New Testament, like there was the time of Abraham where God had winked because there was no law yet. Moses didn't come and set the rules. Jesus had to come and set things straight after everyone else messed it up. So it's still a process.
I mean, yeah, I get that, but I get I totally get what you're saying. And it's like, I don't think he feels that because he's not a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we feel that because it's like a personal like feeling to us. Like,
Mhm.
it's like, well, why? Because the way I feel is, well, why am I not important? Why as a woman don't they have any standing?
Well, because it's like it still
just
still
me.
holds true in our culture that a lot of men are like, well, Eve did this, so blah blah blah, and you're just like, whatever.
Well, I mean, look at Middle Eastern culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
still
and
don't,
it's like, and in our culture
it's-
even, I mean, it's
Yeah.
like things are changing now, but it's like us growing up. I mean, like, when we're young, like the difference in attitudes between men and women and the way they are now.
and
Like
yeah.
it's just interesting.
It is. But I get what you're saying because like I feel the same. I always feel like where's that assurance? Like,
Mhm.
dude, where's the assurance for me? Like
Mhm.
I totally get it. I do.
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
think the assurance can come from Jesus because,
Yeah.
Right.
because can you think of any culture in the world today where women are respected or have any rights at all, except in places where there has been the influence of Western Christianity?
Right.
Mhm.
It's like Logan said, he had to set
Right.
it up. He had to set the law and then it has to, to build upon that and to get there.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think the whole issue of women's rights and stuff has come out of the issue of equality, and which
Yeah.
came out of a really, it wasn't necessarily Christian, but it was a deistic and Christian background of this Declaration of Independence and a healthy respect for Jehovah God, and Jesus, and the whole thing of even in communist countries where everybody's supposed to be equal, women are not treated as equals. I mean, they're not, and so I think we ought to give God due that He did provide in a way, allowing it to come about in such a way that through Christ He could bless everybody and He could restore that kind of equanimity to people.
Yeah. And I feel like too that God gave us so much more than He did give men, because like just watching from like church perspective and stuff, I feel like women have a softer heart. I feel like it's a lot easier for us to accept forgiveness and to get closer to God in like faster and things like that than it is a man, because they've got that wall of their feelings and things and like they've been trained to be, where we have a accepting heart. You know what I'm saying? Like a heart for,
I think you're right.
love, accept forgiveness like that. And
I think
like
you're
when
right.
Jesus, yeah. So
Plus
to
the
me,
gift of childbirth, I mean, for most women, it's a pretty cool gift, like,
yeah. I mean, it's an amazing gift. Yeah, it's pain, whatever, but it's a gift unlike anything else.
mhm.
So it's that love and that acceptance and things like that. So I mean, it definitely is, there are things that God has given us that have like,
I think too, you have to look like it. If we look at the New Testament and like Jesus, there's more women
Yeah.
talked about in the New Testament.
Yeah.
than
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and how Jesus interacts with women in general.
Yeah.
It also said like, and I think we got to think about for everybody, like living under the Old Testament was pretty rough.
for everyone.
Like
For
we got
everybody.
stoned for a lot of things.
Stoned and fingers chopped off and
So and like it does seem like unfair for everyone to a point, but it's also like the consequences were serious. And
yeah.
Eve's consequence in the beginning, that was serious back then, but now we live in a time where we have the better covenant.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's over, live and learn. You know what I mean? Like,
We
moving
live
on
the
kind of stuff.
side of the book.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely true. We do live in the better side of the book. I'll totally give it that one.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely.
But I found what I was looking for.
Okay, hurry up because you got like 2 minutes.
It just goes along with, since we're almost done, it just goes with Esau and Jacob in it. So 1 Corinthians 1:26 says, "For you see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty." So this is like the first time that God's, I guess not that he had a choice, but God had people to base off of. He didn't pick Jacob because Jacob was better than Esau, because Jacob was, he kind of screwed Esau over a couple times, a bunch. But God still saw that as like he can take that and make it into something great.
Yeah.
So it's not that Esau was preferred, but it was that God wanted to show off what he could do through in anybody.
That makes
That's
sense.
a really good point.
Yeah.
That sounds
Very
really cool.
good point. Very good point.
It's an easy job to make somebody that's, already accepting and believing and, but it's a whole nother world to turn around somebody that, is
That's
following
really
the wrong
cool.
path. That's very true.
Yeah.
Very,
I like that.
very true. See this one right here, I'm telling you. Blows my mind. Well, guys, it's 7:30. So I'm sure Messina's going to be turning off the recording here soon. I think she's out traveling because I saw her in a vehicle. So she's probably on her way to the fair to make some kettle corn. So did anybody have anything to add really quick? We've got like 4 minutes and 33 seconds before it's cut off. No. Good discussion though. I think it was a good discussion.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good.
I thought so. I thought it was too.
Some really good points there from you guys. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Insight.
I like Logan's point on Esau too. Like it makes puts a whole new perspective on like the story. I feel like because I always thought Esau was like.
I always thought of him as like this big bully dude. Like
right.
Like
I'm so hungry. Feed me. But
Yeah.
I mean, like it is true. He is literally out in a desert, like probably tracking some random deer for days.
Like
And he
the
may
way-
have been starving.
I mean, like the way people actually hunted back
Yeah.
then is like this is what like you can read about and stuff. Like early humans hunted just by following
mhm.
deer
Yeah.
until they died.
Yeah.
People
And
haven't.
then they have to carry him back.
Yeah, they're not as fast as deer, but you can outlast a deer. So imagine just Esau just following this deer through the desert for however long.
Yeah, that's
and then
kind of
he has to,
crazy.
like Rachel said, he has to carry it back.
Yeah. I mean, that's very true. I mean, he could have been out 3 days. He could have been out a month. You know what I mean? In the desert. So you never know. But
That's
all
a really
right.
cool point.
It is. I never, that's never even been brought up to me. I don't think like, you know what I mean? I've never seen it in that side. So it does change it for me. All right, you guys. Well, I love everyone. I hope you guys have a good rest of your evening.
Bye.
Bye. Love
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Bye, Dad. Love
Good
you.
time. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.